Hello. I'm gonna pin myself to the screen. Perfecto. All righty. Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. So a different business adventure that Joseph will start one of these days whenever I have enough time to think about anything other than the app that we all love and use and Camp Gladiator. I'm going to launch a mental toughness health business. It's gonna be completely separate from everything that I do. Deidre is gonna run it. It's gonna be great. No big deal. And so it's gonna be awesome. So this tonight's topic is gonna be kind of about that, like mental toughness, and we're also gonna dive into like how do we strategically kind of get better over and over and over again, so we don't either burn out, we don't fight off too much or more than we can chew, or like how do we not hit a plateau, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk about it. We talked a little bit about it about a year ago, is actually kind of what gave me the idea. It was actually like August 1st of 2021 was the last time we kind of talked about these types of related topics. So we're going to start it out by kind of taking a deep dive into what's up, Carmi? What's up, Dasali? Hello, everyone is getting in here. I love it. All righty. So we're going to take a deep dive. Hello, Melanie. Um, into what are we capable of and what is our actual capacity. Because a lot of times we throw around excuse words, and I'll tell you what those excuse words are here in a second. And we really become the word. And so if we just tell ourselves, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, you will become busy. And whether it's mentally or whether it actually happens, you will never let yourself do more because you tell yourself over and over and over again that I'm busy. And so if you switched it and said, oh, I actually have free time here, or I have free time here, or I have free time here, you would start thinking differently. You would actually start living differently as well because of what we tell ourselves. Same concept when we tell ourselves we're tired all the time. I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. People are like, hey, Angela, let's go do this. Hey, Joseph, let's go do that. And I'm just like, no, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. You will become tired. Like whatever you tell yourself, you will actually become. Whether that is true or not, completely different story. And so again, if we tell ourselves we're busy, we will just be busy. And it might be busy taking a nap, might be busy Netflix watching, it might be busy doing things that we probably shouldn't be doing. But also it will just always get in the way. So excuse words always get in the way. So I want you to pay close attention to your excuse words and use them very, very carefully. With everything going on right now with Camp Gladiator, I can tell you that before Camp Gladiator, so I'll tell you kind of the phases of business for me and lifestyle for me. And so about in the beginning of the year, January until April, I was busy, quote unquote busy. I was doing boot camps, I was doing one-on-one clients, and we were doing facts over fast nutrition. About that same time, or maybe we've done it for a little bit longer, but we started launching those 30-minute phone calls that you guys are scheduling with me. And so I had so many 30-minute consultations that I was like stressed. I was so overwhelmed. Then I quit Camp Gladiator in April and I had a 2 week retirement. It was fantastic. I was so bored. Wasn't doing anything. I don't know what was going on. And so I was super bored and I didn't have to do boot camps anymore. I wasn't doing very many one-on-one clients, and then the capacity of the 30-minute calls started to slow down because it was such a big hype when we first launched it. Everyone was scheduling them, and then it kind of calmed down. And so I wasn't that busy in the month of April, towards the end of the month of April. And then this whole thing with Camp Gladiator launch, and looking at my life currently, and looking at what I thought was busy back in January, February, March is just not comparable. You just cannot. I am so much more busy now. And so if you follow me on social media, you probably see that my day starts at like 5 a.m. and it ends at like 11 p.m. every single day, to include weekends. And so the first thing I asked was, what are we capable of? What is our capacity? And the answer should always be more, always, as long as we are mentally prepared for it. And so what that means is I don't want you to obviously create this unhealthy relationship with working or with exercise or with whatever we're going to be doing more of. I want you to be mentally tough to be able to handle it. So right now, I can totally handle it. I'm tired, I'm busy, but working 15, 16-hour days, mentally, I can do it. Like mentally, I'm okay. All right. And so again, not trying to tell you to have this unhealthy relationship with busyness or productivity. I think productivity is a better word. So being productive, but just know that we can do more. And this sense of I can do more can flow into every area of your life. And so whether it's your work, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your workouts, whether it is your nutrition, whether it is anything, this mindset of I can do more, I can be more, can always flow into any area of your life that you want it to, as long as you talk to yourself in that manner. And so as I'm diving through this Camp Gladiator experience, I just realized that, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And I have a checklist. I'm as organized as I can be. And that helps out a lot. And that checklist looks a lot like your checklist or our checklist for a routine, for your meal plan. I've got to eat this, eat this, eat this. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And so again, staying very, very organized, getting into your routine will help significantly with this whole I can do more mindset. I can do more capacity, all that good stuff. What's up, Dana? What's up, Jeannie? And so we can always work a little bit harder. I'm a living example right now. We can always work a little bit longer. I'm a living example right now, and we can always work a little bit better. I'm a living example right now. Now, work harder, work longer, work better also pertains to your job. It pertains to your workouts. It pertains to your nutrition. It pertains to your relationship. So could we work harder in our relationship? Absolutely. Could we put more time into our relationship? Absolutely. Could we do better at our relationship? Absolutely. So start to think about all of these things and whatever is important to you. So I'm single, so I don't have a relationship. And so I don't have to really worry about that part of my life, but I do have to worry about like my work, got to worry about you guys, got to worry about my health, got to worry about my nutrition. We can always do more. All right. And so as long as we talk to ourselves in this positive manner of I'm okay, I can do more. Carmi, I saw Carmi in the gym the other day. It was Thursday. What day is it today? I think it was last Thursday, 5 a.m. Carmi was in there. And so that was pretty cool. Haven't seen her in there ever. And so she can do more. She can do 5 a.m. workouts. She wasn't there today, but that's okay. I'll let it slide. And so we can always do more, right? And so I want everyone to kind of realize that. And so why not compete with yourself? Why not compete with your doubts? And so we compete with everything we do, whether we're fighting for a promotion at work, whether we're fighting in our relationship, whether we're fighting for our workouts. We can always compete everywhere else, but we often don't compete with ourselves. And so when you start to doubt yourself, or when you start to tell yourself a negative excuse word, like I'm tired or I'm busy, why not compete with it, right? So why not put in a little extra effort to prove yourself wrong, all right? And so start thinking of it like that. Again, it's just a quick, easy switch of the brain of changing words, changing verbiage, change how you talk to yourself. And then again, turn everything kind of into a healthy competition. And again, there's always a capacity. So I'm not saying overwork yourself or drown yourself with responsibilities. And so make sure we know our capacity. And if we are experiencing something like burnout, or if we're experiencing something like where this overall capacity has turned into a negative, make sure we recognize that as well. And so again, always reflect on kind of what's going on. All righty. So coming from a workout standpoint, a lot of times we limit ourselves based off of what a tracker will tell us. Most of those trackers look like our watches. And so I'll never forget in CG games when someone slowed down because their watch told them to slow down. Their watch said your heart rate was too high and they slowed down. And I asked the person, why'd you slow down? And they verbally told me back, my watch told me to. Well, if you can talk to me, then your watch is wrong. Your heart rate is not too high. If your heart rate was that high, you shouldn't be able to talk. You should be very exhausted. If you've ever seen someone having a panic attack, they probably cannot talk very well and their heart rate is sky high. All righty. So keep that in mind as well. And so I would rather, again, kind of check in with ourselves, and how we check in with ourselves is through a system called your rate of perceived exertion. And so from a workout standpoint, how do you feel? What is your rate? What is your perception of your exertion in the moment? Could you work a little bit harder? Absolutely. Could we work a little bit longer? Absolutely. Could we work a little bit better? Absolutely as well. From a workout standpoint, working out better looks like better form, proper form, making sure we're engaging the right muscles, all that good stuff. And so there's always a way to better your workouts by paying closer attention to the movement. And again, we can always go a little bit harder. We can always go a little bit longer as well. And so we've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And again, whether that comes from our work or whether that comes from our relationships or whether that comes from our exercise or nutrition, we've got to get comfortable with it. And we've got to, again, kind of accept it, know that it's going to be there, but have these positive conversations that it will only be uncomfortable for so long. Prime example, Camp Glider Nutrition launched last Monday. Monday was actually a pretty calm day. However, a storm hit on Tuesday, and I thought I was going to die. I thought that the whole platform was going to come crashing down. I thought everyone was having a terrible experience. I thought all the clients were going to cancel and call in and cancel their subscription because of everything that was going on. And so Tuesday was a really bad day for me. However, Wednesday seemed to be a little bit easier. It seemed to get a little bit better. And then Thursday got a little bit better, and Friday got a little bit better. The issues are still there. We're still having to fix things every single day. We're still having to work on solutions every single day. However, it's getting a little bit easier. And the same thing will happen with everything in your life. So whether it's exercise, exercise will always get a little bit easier. Nutrition, it will always get a little bit easier as long as we don't give up. All right. So if we kind of take a really big break, we almost have to like start over again. And so if you're off of your meal plan for a couple of weeks or a month, or if you stop working out for a couple of weeks or a month, that first day back is always going to be a little bit of a struggle. But again, it's just a restart. It's just, okay, it's uncomfortable today. It's not going to be uncomfortable forever. Every single day will get a little bit easier. All righty. And so if we've been exercising for a while and we have a good background with exercise, maybe it looks like walking or running a little bit faster or a little bit further. Maybe it looks like increasing our dumbbells and struggling during some reps. Maybe it looks like having someone spot us through failure. And so as we start to like fail on our presses or on any other machine that may be in the gym, our spotter, if we have one, you can always ask for a spot as well. Be social in the gym. And they can kind of help you push through those uncomfortable rep ranges, even though it is going to be uncomfortable. And the same thing with like cardio, whether we're running or doing sprints or we're doing a circuit out at a boot camp, totally okay to push through a little bit further and just kind of get adapted to this uncomfortable situation. If we don't, it will look like a plateau. And then when we hit a plateau, we will always point the finger somewhere else except ourselves. So let's take a relationship, for example. I obviously am probably a prime candidate for this conversation. When the relationship seems stagnant, we tend to point the finger at the other person. Oh, you're not doing your part. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And so you're the problem, not me. But I was stagnant. I was comfortable in the relationship. When we look at a workout and we say, oh, I'm not seeing any results. I'm not seeing any progress. It's not the workout's fault. It's probably how we accomplish or attack the workout. When we aren't getting faster, it's not because of our age. It's because we're not running faster. When we're not losing weight, it's not the meal plan's fault. It's probably because we're just not doing the meal plan very well. All righty. So remember that a lot of this comfortableness comes with something like a plateau. And so be cognizant of that and take ownership of that. And so from a nutrition and a progress standpoint there, just stop taking so much emotion or stop putting so much emotion into the scale and into results, and put way more emotion into your dedication and your consistency. So how are we doing and how are we checking in with ourselves? What does our compliance and adherence look like, whether it's your workouts, whether it is your nutrition plan, whether it is your sleep, whether it's your water intake? Always check in with yourself first before you check in with the scale. Because I can almost guarantee if you check in with yourself first before you step on the scale, you'll know what the scale is going to say. And it shouldn't catch you by surprise, because we should have a very realistic conversation with ourselves. So a lot of times when we're jumping on these 30-minute calls, is Sandra still on here? Sometimes she gets kicked off because she's driving. Sandra, haven't talked to you in forever, by the way, so you should probably schedule your 30-minute call. Dana canceled her 30-minute call with me the other day. That was very sad as well. And so when we jump on these 30-minute calls, a lot of times, like when we start talking about your progress, you start talking about short-term goals and long-term goals, like you guys know the answer. Like, you know why we're not seeing progress or why we are seeing progress. You know what we're doing good and what we're doing bad. It just takes you conversating with me to kind of think about it. And so you don't necessarily need me. I love that you do need me. I love that we do talk about it. but you can always check in with yourself. All right. So always check in with yourself and always have those conversations. And I can guarantee you'll know what the scale is going to say. All righty. So with that being said, what are our goals? And so as we start to talk about when we hop on these calls, what are your goals? Do we have a performance goal? Do we have a I want to build muscle and get stronger goal? Do we have a weight loss goal? Do we have a body fat goal? And all that good stuff. I just jumped off a call with one of y'all and talking about maintenance. And so what does it look like when we hit our goal body weight, but maybe we're not as pleased with the person we see in the mirror? So we don't want to lose any more weight, but we do want to quote unquote build muscle and burn fat, or as some of us like to say, tone. I want to be more tone. I don't really want to lose weight. I just want to be tone. And so what does that look like? And so always check in with your goals. And that's kind of another great way that the calls go with us. And so while you jump on a call with me, I told Deidre she's going to do them from now on. When you jump on a call with us, we check in with your goals. And so, because a lot of times we lose sight of our goals, we just totally forget what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're doing it, how we're doing it. And again, talking about it with someone always brings it back to fruition. And then we also set smaller goals to get to those big goals. And so if we do want to decrease body fat, or if we do want to lose 50 pounds or whatever the case may be, we dive into those, but we chip away at them very slowly. So it kind of hopefully helps keep you motivated and keeps it in the front of your mind. All righty. And so now remember, if we want more goals, if we want our results faster, we've got to work harder. You've got to work harder. There's always something that's got to give. And a lot of it looks like comfort. Our comfort has to give. And so if we want more results, if we want better results, if we want to work harder, work longer, work better, we have to be uncomfortable. All right. So be ready to sacrifice comfort first and foremost. And so again, if you want to see more progress on the scale, it probably looks like following your meal plan every single day. That's probably uncomfortable because you have a family and you have friends and they're going to invite you out, and you're going to either have to say no, or you're going to have to go and sit there and maybe not eat because you've got to follow your meal plan. So that's going to look a little bit uncomfortable from there. If we want to run further, farther, faster, or be bigger, stronger, more muscular, more toned, we probably have to lift heavier weights, and that is going to be uncomfortable. And so just remember, as we want more and more results, we've got to be ready to sacrifice our comfort first and foremost. But we don't have to be super duper crazy with it. We don't have to bite off more than we can chew. We don't have to dive into the deep end and not know how to swim. We can do a couple cool things. And that is called progressive overload. Lane loves this term. Lane will talk to you about progressive overload all day, every day. However, I'm going to talk to you about it from a couple different standpoints. Progressive overload is just this simple act of adding small loads or small, what's the word I'm looking for? Small changes that will just get you outside of your comfort zone. All righty. And so if it's in a workout standpoint, maybe we just add 5 pounds. If it's in like a running standpoint, maybe we try to run half a mile further, or maybe we try to complete this sprint 1 second faster, right? And so we would progressively overload how we get to whatever our goals are. And so we have to be ready to challenge ourselves, and we have to be ready to just slowly kind of tap into these uncomfortable situations, again, so we don't bite off more than we can chew. A prime example of what progressive overload shouldn't look like is you taking, let's just say, a month off of your workouts, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then going right back into your workout like you never left and expecting to be the same strength, expecting you to be the same endurance, expecting you to recover as fast as you used to. And you just throw yourself right back into a workout and you're like, oh, I got this. I did it last month, or I did it 2 months ago. I'll be fine. More than likely, you're not going to be fine. It's going to kind of catch up to you much faster than you think. And so again, be patient with getting back on track, and then also be patient with how we progressive overload, no matter what it is. All righty. So last time we talked about this, again, it's probably about a year ago. We talked about boot camps. We have a lot of us who belong to F45, Camp Gladiator, Orange Theory. We have a lot of people that come from a boot camp setting, CrossFit as well. And plateaus are the worst with big boot camps or with group-oriented classes, because a lot of times it becomes a social environment. We get really comfortable with the people around us, and we tend not to work as hard. We tend to just show up to talk to them and just kind of go through the motions. And so a plateau would look like so. And not most, and again, not because it's the workout's fault, not because it's F45's fault or Camp Gladiator's fault or whoever's fault. If you check in with yourself, you'll realize, oh, I actually talked most of that workout. Or, oh, I actually didn't do what they asked me to do most of that workout. Or, oh, I've been using my lighter weights for most of the workout so I can talk, or so I don't feel uncomfortable in front of my friends. And so that's last time we talked about that. And so try to do heavier weights. Maybe it's something along the lines of, hey, and you tell your friend group, hey, Monday and Wednesday are going to be my days to crush it. We can kind of slow down and chit chat on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe that's what that looks like. And that would be a progressive overload. So instead of chit chatting 4 days a week, we only chit chat 2 days a week, right? Or you can chit chat before the workout or chit chat after the workout, totally okay as well. And then so now we can either just stop there and just say, hey, I'm going to work out really, really hard and not talk to you. Or we could bring out our heavier weights. We could try to be the first one finished with the circuit, or the first one finished with the run, or the first one finished with their reps, or whatever the case may be. We could work on a bigger range of motion. And so I know for myself specifically, when you give me a timed task saying, hey, Joseph, I need you to do 20 squats as fast as possible, my range of motion starts to shorten. I won't go all the way down in my squat. I won't go all the way up in my squat. I'll kind of like turn it into a pulse squat because I'm competing for time. And so we could focus on our range of motion, making sure we're using a bigger range of motion and better form. And what that's going to do is put more time under tension on the muscle. It's going to take us longer in the squat. And so therefore it's going to burn a little bit more. It's going to make us a little bit more tired. Those legs are going to work a little bit harder. And we are progressive overloading. We're not pulsating anymore. We're taking our time, not necessarily taking our time, but we are slowing down so we can achieve a better range of motion and better form. All right. So that kind of looks like that from a boot camp setting. And then from a nutrition standpoint, if we are not following our meal plan at all, which is probably like Karami, probably like, just kidding, I won't pick on you, Karami, I'm sorry. So what do? Can we throw ourselves in the deep end and say, hey, I'm going to be 100% perfect on the meal plan starting Monday? Maybe. It's probably not a good idea. You might get halfway through the week and then you're going to fail because you just haven't done it in so long and it's a struggle bus. And so what that can look like from a progressive overload standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, is to just try to hit your calories. We know that calories are going to dictate most of your progress. And so therefore, if you have a meal plan, it's 1,800 calories on your high day, 1,700 calories on your low day, sit somewhere in between that range. I promise you, you'll be okay. And so you can track whatever food you log, whether it was Chick-fil-A, I had Chick-fil-A last night, whether it was margaritas, I haven't had a margarita in a while, whether it was a glass of wine, whatever the case may be, log it. Log it in our app, log it in MyFitnessPal, doesn't matter to me, but try to hit your calories first and foremost. And so again, all you really have to do to progressive overload now is pay attention to the numerical value of what you're eating. And so that would be kind of step one. If you start to hit your calories perfect, we haven't really even meal prepped yet. We haven't really even grocery shopped yet. We haven't done anything. And so we're just logging food that we're naturally eating, whether we're eating out, whether it is Uber Eats or DoorDash, or someone brought some snacks to the office or to the classroom. Our teachers are going back to school or they've been back to school. Log it all and pay attention to your calories first. Then the next thing we can do from a progressive overload standpoint is try to keep hitting our calories, but also hit our protein goal. So in your meal plan, you can always click view macros at the bottom of the plan and see exactly how many grams of protein you have for the day. And so if I've got 1,800 calories on my high day and 150 grams of protein, I want to try to do both of those things. I want to try to do 1,800 calories, and I also want to try to hit 150 grams of protein. Protein should be the most important macros. That's why I said protein first. All righty. I had half a leftover B-Day cupcake yesterday, logged it, and was surprised I didn't see it ruin the whole day. I love it, right? Still stayed within your macros and just adjusted with your subs. I love it. And so remember, food is food. Food will always fall into a category of macro or maybe a couple different macros. So a cupcake, I don't know how to make a cupcake, but I think there's like eggs in it, which would be protein and fat. I think there is flour in it, which would be a carb. I think there's sugar in it, which would be a carb. I think there might be some oil in it, which might be a fat, right? And so if you start thinking about food in terms of macros, your life will be a lot easier. I pinky promise. If you just log something and say, oh, it's 50 grams of sugar and 50 grams of carbs, I've got to take away 50 grams of carbs from my meal plan somewhere, somehow, your life would be a lot easier, I pinky promise. But totally okay. We'll talk about it another time. And so calories first, protein in grams second. All righty. Then pick the third thing that you want to work on. Do you want to hit your carb content or do you want to hit your fat content? All righty. And so whichever one you pay attention to. So if you hit your calories, you hit your protein, and you hit your fats, guess what? You also just hit your carbs. Or if you hit your calories, you hit your protein and your carbs, guess what? You also just hit your fats. All righty. And so it plays a role together. And so again, it can flow very nicely, and you can choose any route you want to go, but I would hit calories first, and then I would try to prioritize protein. You'll also feel a lot better. All right, so keep that in mind. So that's kind of what progressive overload looks like from a nutrition standpoint. You don't always have to jump right back on track, go to the grocery store, get everything perfect, meal prep perfect, measure your food perfect. If it seems like it's too much, you don't have time, probably not going to work very well for very long. However, to bring us back to the very first subject, we also could probably do more. So have that conversation with yourself. What am I capable of? Am I capable of meal prepping today? Am I capable of going to the grocery store today? Do I actually have time, or am I actually busy and being productive? What's going on there? All righty. Netflix is not a reason to not go to the grocery store. I don't know if you know that or not. You can always pull Netflix back up. All righty. You won't, it's not like back in the olden days when I was a young buck and you couldn't record anything and you couldn't pause it and you couldn't do anything. Like when Baywatch was on, I don't know if y'all know this, but Baywatch was a hit back in the day. I forget who the lead guy is. I think what's her name? Pamela Anderson again, and then the guy. There was like 2-star people back in the day. We had to, like, the whole family was sitting around the TV watching it. We weren't doing anything. That's not the case anymore. So pause it, go to the grocery store, come on back whenever you're ready. All righty. So talking a little bit about calories, talking a little bit about macros, we're going to kind of dive into the importance of macros. Okay. And so, oh yeah, David Hasselhoff. Thanks, ladies. I knew the ladies would know it. Oh, do you have any guys on here? All right, no, it's just me. It's fine. It's normal. David Hasselhoff, what a hunk. You know what I'm saying? They just don't make them like they used to. All right. So we're going to talk about macros and why they're beneficial, right? And so sometimes we prioritize calories too much. Sometimes we prioritize just protein too much. And so this is going to we're going to talk about why they're all why they're all important. All righty. And so first and foremost, macros help with body composition. So am I building muscle? Am I burning fat? If we have a diet that is too low protein, you cannot build muscle. If we have a diet that is too high fat, you can't burn fat. All righty. And so you got to play around with those macros. If we want to recover better, we have to have a pretty good dosage of proteins and carbs. If we want energy, we need a pretty good dosage of carbs. And if we want some good health, we probably need a really good dosage of all the above, but fats play a pretty big role in our health, all right, from a cellular standpoint. And so body composition coming up first. If we want to have a better body composition, we need I forget how they say it in the textbooks, but we need like a net protein, how do you say it? Like a net protein goal, a net protein consumption. And so what ends up happening is in your body, you have something called protein turnover, and it happens right now, happens forever and always. And so your body is constantly breaking down proteins. Well, you need to consume as much protein as you're breaking down, which would make you having a plateau, which would make you even. But if I wanted to build muscle or if I wanted to get stronger, I would need to overconsume that amount of protein, which is always why most diets are high protein, because we don't really know how much protein is getting turned over. And so we don't really know, we just know we need more, right? And more is okay, because protein is the safest macronutrient to overconsume. So if we overconsume protein, like let's say I gave Yvette, because you're staring at me, 300 grams of protein, right? And Yvette's like, Joseph, that's a lot of protein. And I'm like, it's probably going to be okay. There are some side effects like constipation, but I mean, if that's the worst thing you get from eating 300 grams of protein, I'm okay with it, right? You might not be okay, but I'm okay with it. I'm just kidding. And so if we overconsume carbs, we'll get diabetes. If we overconsume fats, we'll get high cholesterol, we'll get high triglycerides, we'll have a stroke, we'll have a heart attack, all that crazy stuff. Protein, that doesn't happen, okay? And so we can always overconsume protein and totally feel okay. And so protein and fiber has the highest thermic effect of food. So if we did have a body fat goal, or a body fat loss goal, we should probably eat foods that are really high and coming from a higher thermic effect, right? Which is protein and fiber, which means protein and carbs pretty much. And so with those two things, we can burn more calories at the end of the day just by eating. And if we are burning more calories at the end of the day, we are obviously going to affect our body composition some way, somehow. And so the higher protein is going to help us build muscle and maintain muscle. And then the high thermic effect is going to help us burn calories and burn some fat, because we're not going to burn it from muscle because we're building muscle. And so if we are losing weight and we are burning something, it's going to be fat. All right. And so a low calorie, high fat diet could help with burning fats, and it could help with satiety. However, if we are having a high fat diet, the only reason we are burning more fat is because we are consuming more fat. It's the energy of choice. All right. And so if we're giving ourselves a lot of fat, and so this kind of goes to the whole keto craze, and people are like, oh, if I, eat a really high fat diet, I'm going to burn more fat. Of course, because you're eating more fat. However, we have to be in a caloric deficit. We have to be eating fewer calories than we're burning at the end of the day, or we will have a net storage. We want a net surplus of protein. That way we can build muscle. We don't want a net surplus of fat because we don't want to store fat. And so we can store fat and lose weight at the same time. You can get fatter and skinnier at the same time. It's a wild ride. All right. And so this is why I don't prefer the keto diet. I think a lot of people can have success on the keto diet. However, if I am going to be losing weight, I want to build or maintain as much muscle as possible. I don't want to be losing weight from muscle. So if I'm losing weight, but I'm gaining fat, it means that my weight loss is coming from muscle, organ density, which is we want good, dense, healthy organs, bone health and bone strength, not strength, bone density. We don't want osteoporosis. And so people who follow a low calorie diet for too long or a too low protein diet for too long will start having some of these issues, right? And so we don't want to do that. However, when you hear someone say, oh, I'm following a high fat diet, and so therefore I'm burning more fat, absolutely. Because that's all you're giving yourself is fat. Your body has to burn something, and so it's going to be fat. But if we're not in a caloric deficit, we are not going to lose weight. And if we are not having a diet high enough in protein, which I want to say keto is like 85% fats, less than 5% carbs, and then the other 10% would come from protein, which is just simply not enough, especially if you're in a caloric deficit. Like if you are a high performance athlete, we've got you at 5,000 calories, 6,000 calories, your protein content looks something like 12%, 15%, but 12 to 15% of 5,000 calories is very different than 12 to 15% of 1,500 calories, alrighty? And so if we're not having enough protein, we're going to start seeing those negative side effects, which we don't want. All righty. And so having a high carb diet helps significantly with muscles, helps significantly with recovery, helps significantly with exercise, intensities, and durations. And so I always like to bring up elite athletes, and I always like to use open water swimming in the Olympics as an example. So if you've ever watched open water swimming, you can YouTube it right now and YouTube Olympic open water swimming. And somewhere in this 2-hour long video that you're watching on YouTube, you will see their trainers and nutritionists and coaches in the water some way, somehow. They're either on a boat, they're on a dock or a pier, or they're like in the water with them. And they're handing them things for them to eat really fast. What do you think they're giving them? They're giving them 100% sugar, 100% carbs, and 100% electrolytes. That's what that concoction is. And so it always baffles me when I hear someone say, I'm on keto or I'm on a low carb diet and my exercise is amazing. I am so energetic. I'm recovering so well. I'm doing, and if that was the case, why aren't our highest performing athletes following keto? That just doesn't make sense to me. All right. So a lot of that will come from a placebo. Maybe the client is seeing results on the scale and that's mentally motivating them. Totally okay. Please don't put out their fire. Let let the fire burn, let them shine and just say, awesome job, Yvette. You're doing a great job. Keep killing it. And then whenever it stops, just send them to the Facts Over Fats website, pretty please. All right. And then last but not least would be protein and water intake. So going back to Yvette's example, I gave Yvette 300 grams of protein. She's a little constipated. That's because protein dehydrates you. All right. Protein takes a lot of water because of its high thermic effect. And it doesn't have any GI benefits. So fiber has a high thermic effect as well. However, it has lots of GI benefits, but protein doesn't. And so it's just sitting there dehydrating you. And the first thing you'll notice is that our stools get a little bit harder, especially if you're kind of getting back on track, or if you're new here, when you start having a high protein diet, the first thing you're going to know is your bowel movements will be irregular. And so it might be stopped up. It might not be stopped up, but it'll be hard. And so it's uncomfortable when you go. And just know that we've got to drink more water. If you want to know how much more water, you have an email. It's titled Water Consumption. You should go check it out. Everyone has it. It's a pretty awesome article. I think Joel wrote it, if y'all remember Joel. It's a pretty good article, though. So go drink more water. And so with all of that being said, proteins help us build muscle. Carbs get stored in muscle. Carbs have a 4-to-1 storage ratio of water. So for every 1 gram of carb that you store 4 grams of water. And muscle itself is 70% water. All righty. And so out of your whole muscles that you can touch and feel and squeeze, you're mostly squeezing water. Congratulations. All righty. So now when we drop our carbs and people see a lot of progress or weight loss in a quick amount of time, that is the exact reason, is because we've decreased our carbs. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. And so we also just decreased a lot of stored water. However, muscle is 70% water for a reason. Water plays a huge role with muscle contraction, muscle hydration, muscle recovery. Oxygen and nutrients get delivered through water. And so if we are dehydrated in the muscle cell, your muscles will now perform worse. So we need carbs in the muscle because carbs are going to help store water. And we need more water in the muscle so that the muscle can perform really well. So you see me huffing and puffing because I talk too much. Now I'm reading. Okay, so say my basal metabolic rate is 1,500 calories. My meal plans are 1,500 calories and 1,700 calories. If I'm not working out, then I won't be losing fat, or should be, because of the thermic effect of food, correct? How do we figure out the total thermic effect of our plan to know how many calories we are burning per day? Cool question, Jojo. I will tell you. Protein has somewhere between 20 and 25% thermic effect. Carbs have somewhere between 10 and 15%. And fats have somewhere between 2 and 5% thermic effect. So here's what this means. I'll do it with you. Per calorie. Well, per grams equal calories. So we're getting really nerdy and really mathy, but I love it. I'm totally okay with it. All right, let me pull up a meal plan real quick. Boop. And I will kind of walk y'all through kind of a scenario. So I've got a 1,700 calorie meal plan pulled up, and I am going to pull up my phone for a calculator as well. I'm not texting you back, I promise. Calculator. All right. So at the bottom of your meal plans, you can see all of your grams. You can see all of your grams of protein, all of your grams of carbs, all of your grams of fats. This is really nerdy. So if y'all don't care about this, you can probably hang up. But I love nerdy stuff. So this meal plan, whoever's it is 151 grams of protein. Okay, so 151 grams of protein. Remember that there is 4 calories per gram. So 151 times 4 is 604 total calories coming from protein. All right. Of the 1,700, 604 are coming from protein. Protein has somewhere between a 20 and 25%. Nothing in nutrition is ever accurate. So I will multiply it by, let's just choose something in the middle, 0.22, right? 0.22, because that's a percentage. So of the 604 calories that I ate of protein, it will take my body 133 calories to break it down, digest it, and utilize it, okay? So 133 minus 604, I'm actually only storing or utilizing or have access to 470 calories, all right? So I ate 604, but I only stored 471, all right? That's 22%. Same thing with carbs. So carbs on this meal plan, we have 130, and then that's 130 grams. It's a 4-to-1 ratio as well. We times that by 4. It's 520 calories. So protein was 604, carbs was 520. The thermic effect of carbs is somewhere between 10 and 15%. I think it's actually a little bit bigger than that. So don't quote me on that percentage, but again, like something with really high fiber, like vegetables, would probably have a higher thermic effect. Something like beans would probably have a higher thermic effect because of the protein content and the fiber content. So don't quote me on that 10 to 15%. I just know that it is like a step down from protein, okay? So for this purpose, we're gonna, again, pick something in the middle. We're gonna call it 12%. So we've got 520 calories coming from carbs. I multiply it by 0.12, which is 12%. And that's 62 calories. So of the 520, 62 I needed to digest, utilize, absorb, all that good stuff. And so I'm left with 457 calories coming from carbs. And then very few come from fats, or very low thermic effect for fat. And so that's why it's 2 to 5%. And so I will give you all of these total numbers. Oh, no, I'll explain it for you. Okay, Jojo. Jojo, that was my name when I was a kid. Jojo. Let me go back to my history. Okay, so we did protein first. And so again, the total meal plan is 1723. Y'all are getting so nerdy. I love it. 1723. From our protein, we actually only consumed 520. And then from our carbs, we only consumed 457. And now we're going to do fats, okay? Boop. So fats are 2 to 5%. This meal plan has 68 grams of fat. So 68 times 9. There's 9 calories in 1 gram of body fat. We have 612 calories coming from body fat, or not body fat, coming from food fat. So 612, because 68 times 9 is 612. Yeah, sorry, Doselli. And so we're going to multiply that by something in the middle. So 2 to 5%, let's just call it 4%, times 0.04. It takes 25 calories to digest all of those fats. So 25 minus 612 is 587 calories left over. Okay, so let's add all these back up. We've got 520 plus 457 plus 587. It equals 1564. So of your 1,700 calorie plan, you're actually only eating 1,500, or you're only storing or having access to or being able to utilize 1,564. So we're almost losing 200 calories because of the thermic effect of food, right? So if your metabolism is 1,500 and you don't work out, if you laid in bed all day, you would be at maintenance if you followed your 1,700 calorie plan, if you were following this 1,700 calorie plan. This 1,700 calorie plan is 35% protein, 30% carbs, 35% fats. And so we can technically lose calories by eating a higher, we say it all the time. Oh, you've got to eat more complex foods. Oh, you've got to eat higher protein. Oh, you've got to eat every 2 hours. Oh, you got to eat more vegetables. We say these things because we hear them. We just don't know what it means. This is what it means. The math, right? This is what it means. healthier foods, higher protein foods, vegetables, they have a higher thermic effect. So we are going to consume, we're going to store less calories because we are burning more calories to break them down. So of this plan, again, every plan is different. And again, I didn't even take into fiber into consideration of how high the fiber was, but we essentially say, okay, this 1,700 calorie meal plan is actually only 1,564 calories. And so therefore you would be at maintenance. Nothing would be happening. Now, we also have to remember that your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. That is measured with you laying in bed awake. Those are the only two stipulations you can do. You have to lay in bed in a dark room so light doesn't trigger your brain to turn on and burn more calories. And then you have to be awake. You cannot fall asleep. That's how we measure your BMR. I'm sorry to tell you, but we are not laying in bed all day. At least I don't think you are. Maybe you are. If you are, I'm very jealous. So the moment you get out of bed, you burn more calories. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis is like your chores, walking to and from the grocery store, cooking dinner, meal prepping, hanging out with your kids, working out, not working out. Sorry, that was a bad example. All of your steps on your watch, when you got your steps, all of that is considered non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that is going to burn a couple hundred calories as well. And then your workouts are going to also burn a couple hundred calories as well. Does Tanita get close to BMR? A Tanita scale. So it doesn't matter. That's, so nothing in measuring body fat, nothing in measuring your BMR, nothing in measuring nutrition is really accurate. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is your compliance and consistency to the meal plan. And then are we going to adjust and adapt based off of your results? So that is why compliance and consistency is so important, because we don't know your BMR. We don't know how many calories are really in that chicken. We don't know. I gave you 8 ounces, but did you only have 7.6 ounces? And then did you leave a piece in your Tupperware because you were sick of it? Like, we don't know those things. So there's so many inaccuracies that it's not worth crunching numbers. It's really not. And so every smart person, I think, would tell you, hey, let's just be really, really consistent. And let's base your future changes off of your results from consistency. So if you are telling me, hey, Joseph, I followed my meal plan like verbatim for the last month and nothing happened. What's up, Allie Dog? Then I would say, okay, like we can change your meal plan some way, somehow. Most of your meal plans, we're not changing your calories and macros. We're just giving you different food options. That's what we're mostly doing. Or if you give us feedback about like your energy or your recovery or things like that, will change around your macros. But very rarely will we. I will tell you a prime example. We have a couple people, but people who have massive weight loss are the only people who we really change their calories for. Very rarely do we change your calories. We might go up on your high day and lower on your low day, but the net weekly caloric consumption is still the same. We might change your macros based off of how you're feeling and based off how you're recovering. But that's a feeling. We're trying to help that feeling, not because we necessarily had to. We're trying to help you be happier on a meal plan. And so again, with people who have massive weight loss, like Deidre had a big weight loss goal, Sergio, Lauren, we have a couple of people who have lost 50 plus pounds. Then we start to change your calories because you've lost so much weight. And so your metabolism will slow down as we lose weight. It's a good thing. Calm down. It's a good thing. And so we will change it there. But for most of us who we're flirting with like 5 or 10 pounds, or maybe we we're just happy and compliant and kind of compliant, then we're not going to change it. So a lot of times when you want to speed up results, our feedback will be follow your current meal plan better, right? Follow it harder, follow it longer, follow it better. I'm not going to change your calories because you've been half-assing it. Doesn't make any sense, right? And so why would I starve you when you just haven't been following your plan? That's uncomfortable. And I don't want that to be you, and I definitely don't want that to be me either. And so a lot of times we'll just drive home compliance and consistency. Your calories can stay the same, and most of the time our macros can stay the same as well, but we do change your macros based off of your feelings. Now, if you switch your goals, so I've got a couple people on here who said, hey, I'm about to hit my goal weight, or I'm about to start running a marathon or whatever the case may be, obviously we're going to switch your calories and your macros because your goal changed. We went from weight loss to performance. We went from weight loss to maintenance. We went from no working out to working out. We will obviously change your macros and calories, but not because we have the perfect formula or the perfect scale or the perfect, body fat percentage reading. Just because we know that you're going to be exercising more, so you probably need some more calories. We're going to increase you by a couple hundred. We're going to monitor your results. We're going to monitor your feedback, and then we're going to make adjustments based off of that. But if it's like, hey, Joseph, I feel like I'm really stuck, and you should drop my calories. It's probably not Joseph. It's probably DJ or Lane. And so what they should be saying is, hey, Sandra, tell me about your compliance. Like, tell me about how's your nights been? How have your weekends been? Did you splurge a little bit over here, splurge a little bit over there? Oh, okay, because we live life, we're not a robot. And since we're not a robot, let's not starve you. Let's not give you less calories. Let's just keep your current meal plan as is, and let's just follow a little bit closer. Or let's just be super duper happy with the results that we have right now. Right. And so let's just be super duper happy with what's going on right now, even if it's slow or even if it's a plateau. And we talk about this a lot too. Sometimes a plateau from a weight loss, weight gain standpoint is a win. Sometimes it's like, man, my life has been so hectic. I've been eating out 3, 5, 7 times a week. I crushed a bottle of wine last night, but my weight has stayed the same. That's a win in my book. You've been living a really good life and you haven't gained any weight. And so let's just hang out there, right? Let's not starve you or punish you in terms of nutrition because you've been living a good life and being a happy person. I hope you're happy with all that food and all that alcohol. If you're not, then we should probably schedule a call with a therapist. I'll come with you though. If you want me to, because I probably need to see them too. Maybe we can double up. You think we can hit two therapy sessions for one price? I think we should try it. And so again, nothing in nutrition, nothing on your bioelectrical impedance scale, like a Tanita scale, like an InBody scale, is accurate. Even when you go to get your metabolism measured, when you breathe in a thing and you lay in a dark room for an hour and you breathe into this little mask, that's not accurate as well. Even when you go, I love Lifetime Fitness. I only dog on them for a little bit. I've never dog on them. You can go to Lifetime Fitness, okay? And you can get on a treadmill and they're going to put a thingy on your mouth and you're going to breathe and it's sealed. It's like suction cup to your face. And it will measure when you're burning fat and when you're burning carbs based off of the intensity that you're doing on the treadmill. And they're going to measure your heart rate. So that's how we talk about heart rate zones. And so if we say, hey, if you're at 60% of your max heart rate, you're burning fat. If you're at 80% of your max heart rate, you're burning carbs and yada, yada, yada. You can get on this scale and you can do it. Even that thing is massively inaccurate, number one. Number two, taking that data and then putting it into your watch, my watch said, my battery's about to die. Oh, my watch says that my heart rate is 180, so I'm burning carbs. I want to slow down. I need to be at 150 because Lifetime told me to. This is not accurate. So even if the Lifetime thing was accurate, it's not. This is really inaccurate, up to 65% inaccurate, by the way. And so that's inaccurate. So don't worry about anything other than working harder, working longer, working better from an exercise standpoint and from a nutrition standpoint. Measure the results. If the results are not there, I can guarantee you the answer is in the mirror. I can guarantee you, because we're all guilty of it. And it's all because it's uncomfortable being uncomfortable, right? And so we don't want to be uncomfortable. So we always limit ourselves some way, somehow, or we'll snack on something we shouldn't have snacked on, or we'll just have one glass of wine, which is 3 ounces, by the way, not 6, not half a bottle. If you were curious about wine measurements, got some teachers on here. I see y'all. And so just remember that the answer is probably always in the mirror, right? And so if we want better results, we want faster results, we don't need a crazy new meal plan. We just probably should follow it 7 days a week. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable from a social aspect. It's going to be uncomfortable because you're going to want Chick-fil-A on Sunday and you can't have it, right? And so just be ready for that uncomfortableness, all righty? And so I hope that was nerdy and helpful. But people love to love on data. And most of the data that we as civilians have access to is largely inaccurate, right? And so just again, try not to put too much love on your watch, try not to put too much love on like your body fat scale, try not to put too much love on your nutrition labels, too much love on your food scale, too much love. Like don't love on that stuff. Love on yourself, love on your consistency, compliance, and routine. Love on how you're feeling and check in with yourself. And again, have those realistic conversations of, can I be doing more? What's my capacity? Am I just being lazy? All those good stuff. And then if you don't want to check in with yourself because it sounds weird talking to yourself, schedule a call with me. And so let me know and we'll chat about it. And so just remember, we can always work smarter and harder. We can do both. I know there's a saying that says, work smarter, not harder, or don't work harder, work smarter, or however that quote goes. But we can do both. We can work harder and smarter. All righty. You also need a new notebook and a journal. Natasha said things she's learned. You need a new notebook or journal, or program, or system, or meal prep containers, etc. I love it. You also don't need a new notebook or a journal or a program or a system or a meal prep container. So those are all, I guess, things that Natasha has tried to expedite some results. She says, you don't need it. You don't need it. It's really basic. And I think and we only have 3 minutes left, I'll get out of your hair. I think part of the problem is as technology advances, like technology is obviously getting better and we're getting to be able to do cooler things and everything in life is speeding up. Data is speeding up. Transmitting information is speeding up, whether it's social media or podcasts. Like we have access to so much information in the click of a button, super duper fast. You know what's not fast? Your health and fitness. That is still slow. And we market things like it's going to speed it up like no other, and it never does. Or it might for a little bit, and then you gain it all right back. Or it might for a little bit, and then you completely fall off track because it was so crazy, it was so extreme, it was just unsustainable. And so again, the whole world is moving super duper fast. We don't have to from a health and a nutrition standpoint. Slow and steady will always win the race. There is nothing that will expedite your process or your progress other than you just working harder, working smarter. Little by little, set your small goals, hit them, set another goal, hit them, set another goal, hit them, and just go, 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 go. Don't watch your watch. Don't watch your heart rate monitor. Don't worry about your smart scales that we have at home. Just check in with yourself, and I guarantee you'll have the answer. All righty. Now, last thing, 1 minute. Natasha did send me a TikTok. And we did talk about this a long time ago because I was in school and we actually learned about it. And Natasha sent me a TikTok that said, essentially what it said is you're overweight because your gut microbiome. So your gut is a colony of all types of crazy chemicals and things, all righty? And research has shown, so Natasha, I'm not dogging on your TikTok that you sent me. So research has shown that healthier, skinnier, fit people have a different gut microbiome. They have different amounts, not really different from like what they have, but just different amounts of certain things. Thanks, Sandra. Inside their GI system that overweight or obese people don't have or don't have as much of, or obese people have more of this and not enough of this, or whatever the case may be. And so there has been studies that you can do a fecal transplant. You can take poop out of a skinny person and put poop into a heavier overweight person, and it will actually help the heavier person lose weight faster. There has been research that shows that. So Natasha sent me a TikTok that said they could do it through a pill, right? I think that's what it was actually, to change your gut microbiome. Here's the problem. When you consume something from the top down, it goes through so many things before it actually hits your stomach to be able to change your gut microbiome. Okay. So the acidity of things going down, like you have acid reflux for a reason, because stomach acid is coming back up and it is burning and breaking things down. If you have stomach acid, like if you have GERD or acid reflux for too long, uncontrollably, your esophagus, this is your trachea, but behind it is your esophagus. your esophagus will rot. It will literally rot. And so that acidity breaks down almost everything that we consume. So to think that a pill that is going to change your gut microbiome is going to surpass and make it through your acids of your stomach is just wildly outrageous. Now, you don't see that if you go from the other side. You don't have to go through your stomach. You don't have acid reflux in the butt, right? And so it's a different scenario. So when you fecal transplant, and that's also why some medications are administered through your butt. I forget what they call it when they pump stuff into your butt. There's a word for it. And so it's pretty wild, that research. And it wasn't astounding. It wasn't like, oh, this is we have like clear-cut data, so this is what we're going to do to help treat obesity. But this is what people do to scam you, is they say, oh my goodness, gut microbiome is the issue, so I'm going to create a pill and it's going to change your gut microbiome. But we forget about all the things that the pill has to go through. Not only that, most of the ingredients will get kind of thrown out into your liver and kidneys for filtration before it even gets back to your stomach. So there's also that thing as well. But again, coming from, what's the word I'm looking for when you put stuff in your butt? I know there's a word for it. But when you go the other way, it doesn't have to bypass all of those things. It doesn't have to bypass your stomach acid. It doesn't have to bypass metabolism and breaking things down. It just gets absorbed into your GI system and into your colon. And so that will change your gut microbiome. But again, the research, I had to read 5, I think, research articles on it. And none of it was like super, and enema, suppositories, absolutely, right? Enema for liquid suppositories. There you go, Natasha. Thanks, Betty. And so the research wasn't great. It was just like, oh yeah, like, we saw a change in the GI system. We saw a change in the gut microbiome, and the people lost like an accelerated rate of like 1% or 2%. So someone who didn't have this fecal transplant, who followed like a very similar diet, very similar lifestyle, compared to someone who did have the fecal transplant, who followed the similar diet, followed a similar lifestyle, like this person lost like 1% more body weight. Like it wasn't astounding. And so I don't know, like if you're 200 pounds, that's 2 extra pounds. Like you lost 2 extra pounds. I don't think it's life-changing. I don't think that would motivate you anymore, but you'd have to, again, go and get fecal transplants done from like healthy people. So let's all text Lane and ask him for some poop, because Lane is like super healthy. All right, he's super fit. So let's ask Lane for some poop. Say, hey man, can I have some poop? I'm just kidding. Don't do that. All right. But that was I was totally off topic, but we've been nerding out a lot today. So I totally wanted to bring that up. And so it is a thing. You can research it. Fecal transplants for weight loss. You can totally research it. But again, how we administer drugs, if we swallow it, a lot of stuff has to happen. So most good drugs are injections, or they're in a suppository. I read that word. So most good drugs happen that way. And so I don't know if there is a good comparison, but if you take a painkiller, right, and you orally consume the painkiller, and then you get an injection of morphine works a lot better because it's not going through all of the things that the painkiller has to go through, right? And so it's kind of a little example of how suppository or a fecal transplant versus taking the same pill. I wonder if it's just poop in a pill. That's pretty gross. And you're just eating. I'm just kidding. I don't know how it works. But yeah, they will. Like people will just try anything except working harder, working smarter, working better, longer, faster. We'll do anything. And so it's pretty wild. But we're all guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. And so I just want you to know, very first question we talked about is, what are you capable of? What is your capacity? And I guarantee you are capable of more. You're capable of more compliance. You're capable of more exercise. You're capable of working harder and longer during your exercise. You're capable of doing better exercise. And all of those things can apply to your work, to your relationships, to your kids, all of it. All right. And so again, we just got to play around, check in with ourselves, have a self pep talk. And if you don't want to have a self pep talk because it's weird, schedule a call with me. I think my schedule is freeing up a little bit, but we shall see. And so some more appointment times should be available, hopefully coming in September. And so jump on the calendar if you need to chat with me. All right. All right. Well, that's it. Have a great day. I'm going to stop the recording.